What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys. We're going to do a scout report on James Maddison today. We got those 3 beautiful words from Fabrizio Romano this morning. Here we go. And James Maddison will be a Tottenham Hotspur player. And I, for one, are very excited. It seems like the natural successor for Christian Eriksen. It's taken a few years, but we got there in the end. And it seems as though we are really doing that rebuild and really starting to back a manager this window. I don't want to speak too soon. We've still got a lot of work to do.
Heard that one before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon because there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of defenders to come in. But to bring in James Maddison, that you're talking about a player of real high quality, a player that has produced the numbers in the Premier League for a lower side like Leicester for the past couple of years to a very high standard. So we're going to be looking at the stats and seeing how good he has been over the past 365 days. So, Sim, let's go for it.
I mean, in terms of like the base stats, like overall anyway, his time at Leicester, just to go over them: 203 games, 55 goals, 41 assists. That's 96 goal contributions in 203 games, so just under a goal or assist every other game, which is
for Leicester.
And that's for Leicester. And considering as well, last season they got relegated. The season before, I'm pretty sure they finished bottom half as well. So really impressive stats. Clearly a number 10 that likes to produce big numbers. But we're going to drill down even further into the underlying statistics to see maybe how sustainable those kind of numbers are, maybe if he can even improve them. If you could look now, these are the stats comparing him to attacking midfielders and wingers over the last 365 days. So as you see, the goals, assist, the base rate stats are pretty good. Very, very, very green. His penalties made as well. He wins quite a decent amount of penalties, 77th percentile.
So is this percentiles for the Premier League or is it for around
top
Europe?
5 leagues?
Yeah.
Against all attacking midfielders and wingers in Europe's top 5 leagues. So in terms of his XG per game as well, 82nd percentile, so he's getting really good goal positions. Expected assists as well, 94th percentile, so it tends to create a lot of chances per game. Progressive carry is not the best, 40th, so he doesn't really carry the ball into maybe around the pitch, not too often. Progressive passes, though, fairly strong. Getting to the shooting metric, takes a lot of shots, three a game, which is 88th percentile. Shots on target, just under 1 a game, which is decent. 77th, actually pretty good as well. His shot accuracy, 32%, is actually pretty low. So what I'm sensing is he takes a lot of shots, and actually maybe he shoots too much. Essentially, 1 in 3 of his shots is on target. So maybe he should refine. He should be a bit more effective with his shooting. Average distance, 21 yards, so he tends to shoot from distance, essentially. Tends to shoot from far out. Maybe he should be waiting to be getting a bit closer in. Looking at his passing stats, looking maybe how many chances he's creating. Pass completed, 65th percentile, 30 passes a game. That's not bad. Pass completion rate, 73%, quite low, but maybe that tends to say he's taking more riskier passes. That I think if you look at someone like De Bruyne, it's also fairly similar as well. So it's not nothing to be too worried about. Short completed passes, he tends to not complete too many. Medium to long, though, fairly strong, albeit his pass completion rate for long passes is only 50%, which is quite low percentile and medium rate. So, but again, he's probably looking for more audacious passes. But looking at these ones, expected assists 0.21, and expected XGA is 90 in the 94th and 69th percentile, so fairly good. Key passes 2.5 a game. That's really strong. That's good to see. Passes in the final third, 92nd percentile. That's really good. Passes into the penalty area is quite low. Maybe he's lacking of options when he gets into the final third. That's what I'm guessing when he's in around the penalty area. Through balls, really strong, 92nd percentile. What's interesting though is when it comes to his passing types, when it comes to his chances created, it does seem to be a lot from set pieces. When it comes to live passes, he's strong, but he's not as strong as he is from set pieces here.
It's kind of like criticism, though, I had of similar thing of Ivan Perisic last year, that he wasn't able to do much from open play, where most of his assists did come from set pieces. But I do imagine a Maddison to be a lot more effective from open play than Ivan Perisic was.
Yeah, when you look at his set piece metrics, they're pretty strong. He does perform very well for set pieces. His live in play passes, they're still good, but they're not like as they're not as strong as his set piece metrics. If you go his goal and shot creation, if you go to his shot creating actions, they're really strong, like 5 per game, 87th percentile. But then you look at his shot creating actions in play, it's only his 62nd percentile, and then you go from his set piece shot creating actions, they're in the 90th percentile. So it really shows maybe the difference, but how strong he is in both those metrics. He is strong overall, but he clearly at the moment is a lot of it's come from his set pieces.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much that would change potentially from an Ange system to a Brendan system. It'll be interesting to see how much his goal contributions or how high in the percentiles he is from open play.
Yeah, he does definitely seem to get into the box. We'll get into that soon. But he, in terms of picking up the ball in and around the penalty area, he seems to like to make late runs in the box a bit more. Obviously, Leicester as well. They're a team that was struggling a lot for possession last season. If you go to his defensive stats, something that has been called into question, they are pretty decent. 1.85 a game, which is the 83rd percentile. Tackles 1 as well, just under 1 a game, which is just under the 70th percentile. But if you look at where the tackles are made, he makes 1 a game, just under 1 a game in the defensive third, 93rd percentile, so really strong. In the middle third, 72nd percentile, and then the attacking third, 36th percentile. So he is making the majority in the defensive areas. He's not really pressing high and making them. He's not pounding defenders, essentially making the tackles.
But is that not just a consequence of how poor Leicester have been over the past 365 days? And if Spurs are very much a front-footed, forward-thinking, high-pressing team, you would imagine that he would do a lot more challenges in the other final third.
Potentially, yeah, you'd have to say that, but you'd also maybe you'd say that the fact that he's making a lot of tackles in the defensive third is a consequence of the fact that the other who he's being compared to maybe don't make as many tackles in that area compared to what he's been had to. So. And so, I mean, they're not bad stats, but he is predominantly making them in defensive areas rather than pressing high. So that's something he's going to have to adjust to. In terms of blocks and interceptions, not particularly strong. Tackles, interceptions together is pretty decent, 74th percentile. In terms of where he's getting the ball, he's picking up the ball. In terms of touches, he's not picking up the ball particularly more than any other player in his position, 62nd percentile. He doesn't pick up the ball too much, I guess, compared to his counterparts in the attacking third or penalty area. Does tend to pick it up more in the middle third, which is, I don't know how to, I guess maybe with more possession under Ange, that would change. Take-ons, he definitely... Take-ons attempted. You got to remember their wingers are also included in this, so you're comparing them to wingers. So it's 3.88 per game, which is 59th. But if you're including wingers in that, I'm assuming compared to just attacking mids, it's going to be a bit different.
It'd be interesting to see maybe his metrics just against midfielders or just against number 10s.
Yeah, they don't really have it.
Yeah, it'd be really good to see that. But I mean, when you're comparing him to wingers, it's obvious that he's going to be fairly low down the pecking order.
Yeah, we'll see later when I do comparisons to some of the best 10s in the Premier League how he compares, which is decent. Progressive carries, it's just above average in terms of how he carries the ball. Carries into the final third and penalty area quite low, which is not great. Doesn't carry the ball too well.
It's very high for miscontrols.
Yeah, miscontrols. No, but that's good. It means he makes less.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's good.
So
I thought he was like one of the biggest miscontrollers in Europe.
I think that's less. It means he actually loses the ball less and dispossessed as well. He loses it less than most. Passes received is okay, but progressive passes received is quite low, but that may be as well because Leicester weren't too good. In the miscellaneous ones, I think there should be fouls drawn. That's a quite important metric. How many fouls he's picking up on the pitch? 2.87. So he's one of the most fouled players in Europe, essentially, which is really impressive.
So Jack Grealish is probably the most fouled player in the Premier League. It'll be good to see him up against that in that metric.
So in terms of that, what we can learn is in terms of shooting, pass creation, especially from set pieces, really strong. Key passes per game, really good, but I think a lot of that comes from set pieces. Definitely really strong from goals and assists. Shot creating actions, really strong. Does the defensive work as well. I guess what he has to work on is his ability in the final third to carry the ball up the pitch. He does do a lot of take-ons and stuff. Let's look at maybe some of the comparisons when we're comparing him to some of the other number 10s in the Premier League. So I've got him comparing him here to Martin Odegaard, Bruno Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne, Eriksen when he was at Tottenham, so like a prime Eriksen, and Alexis McAllister now of Liverpool from Brighton. So I've got him comparing him to some of the best number 10s in the Premier League, see how his stats stack up. So if we're looking at, there's a metrics per 90 again.
Can we zoom in on these stats a bit more?
Yeah, I just have to move around a lot, so I won't know who is who, basically.
Oh, okay.
So we got XG per 90. Considering he's playing for Leicester, relegated Leicester is one of the top. So he's getting to a lot of good goal scoring positions. He's second only to Alexis McAllister, actually. Non-penalty XG, second only to Martin Odegaard. Expected assists, he's third. Only Bruno and Kevin De Bruyne are ahead of him. He's ahead of likes of Eriksen, Odegaard, and
expected assists. That is,
yeah, expected assists. If you got expected non-penalty goals and assists, he's third to Bruno and De Bruyne, who are beasts in these fields. Progressive passes, second lowest, only lower. McAllister's the only one lower, so he doesn't pass the ball forward as much as the other players. I think maybe because Bruno, Odegaard, De Bruyne, Eriksen find themselves in the midfield areas more than Maddison. He's kind of more further up the pitch, I guess. You would have to say. Looking at his shooting stats compared to the other ones, shots. So if we get him here, shots per game. He's top. He takes more shots than anyone else.
Did he score more goals than you? No, Odegaard scored more.
Odegaard got about 15.
And what did Eriksen get that year?
Goals per game, he's here. He's second. So he actually, because he had less minutes. So goals per 90, he's second only to Odegaard. So
how many did Eriksen get that year?
If I take it off per night, he got 10. 10 goals and 10 assists that season. Compared to Maddison last season. But this season, if you see, look, matches played, he played 30 compared to all the others who played a bit more than him last season. Shots, he performs really well. He's taking a lot more shots than everyone else, 3. Shots on target, he's second to prime Eriksen, which was, but percentage-wise, he has one of the lowest percentages, shots on target, so he's a bit wayward with his shooting. If you look at, so that's, he's takes more shots, gets shots on target, but I guess the consequence, he's not as effective in shooting the other players. Looking at his passing, key passes per game, he's 2.5, which is actually about mid. Top is Kevin De Bruyne, and then you've got Bruno Fernandes, who's second, and Eriksen third. So he's not terrible, 2.5, but he's not like elite. Passing the final third, 4.24 again, mid-range. Progressive passes near the bottom, actually completely dwarfed by De Bruyne and by Bruno, who get over 9, which is really high. He gets about 5. So that's okay. Like long passes completed per game, again mid. Medium passes it's the bottom, and short passes also the bottom. So he definitely doesn't pass as much as the other players on this list. Through balls, he's only McAllister does less than him over here. All the rest are performing much more through balls than him. But again, they've got better players to aim at. So maybe with Harry Kane or a better number 9 in front of him in a better system, that'll go up. In terms of shot creating actions, again, he's not bad. He's again mid. Eriksen, Bruno, and De Bruyne all perform better. He's better than Odegaard and McAllister in this front. Passes live, shot creating actions from in play, he's one of the lowest. But from dead ball situations, he's only second to De Bruyne. So again, performing really well from set pieces, but in play, not as well. His defensive metrics compared to these other players, Tackles 1, McAllister.
But
is
one
ahead
sec,
of him.
before we move on, would you read too much into maybe the shot creating actions and the actions from open play when it is in a Leicester team, when he's going to be in a much better, with better players around him and a much more progressive Tottenham team as well?
Yeah, you can't, the stats aren't the be all and end all. They're only paint a picture, but they're not. Obviously, you put him in a different system, in a different team, they're going to be, these stats can change year on year. We're just comparing it to last season.
Because obviously,
they're a relegated Leicester team.
All these players that we're comparing him to are in much more successful sides than that Leicester team. That Leicester team got relegated. Brighton had their best season ever. Arsenal had their best season in a long time. Man City just won the treble, and Man United finished in the top 4.
And that was Tottenham's.
And Tottenham, a very good Tottenham side as well.
Exactly.
So it's hard to like really just rely on these stats. You know what I mean?
You can't. You can never rely on stats in any situation. And in fact, the fact that he's not bottom of all these metrics is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The fact that he's still keeping up essentially with a lot of these top number 10s in a system, in a team which got relegated. It's pretty impressive, I would say. He's only at the bottom of very few of these. If you go to defensive stats, you can see, tackles 1, he's second, but second to McAllister, level with Bruno, but a lot more than Eriksen, Odegaard and De Bruyne, but they're obviously they're going to be tackling a lot less. Tackles 1, he's third, but again, a lot of them in defensive third. Tackles in the attacking third, he's pretty low down. When it comes to challenges, when he tackles dribblers, middle, average compared to these. Tackles interceptions, again, he's average. But again, he was in a defensive Leicester team, not as good. If you look at where he's picking the ball up, compared to his other players, a lot less in the middle and the attacking third and the middle and the attacking third compared to these other players, because Leicester had the ball a lot less possession there. When you go to the attacking penalty area, though, performed really well. Only second to Bruno in terms of picking the ball up in the penalty box, which is pretty good. If you look at his dribbling, he's top. He attempts the most dribbles by quite some way, actually. And dribbles a lot more than his all the other players. Success as well. He gets more success than anyone else, 1.67, which is more success than any others. But his success rate, actually, his effectiveness is the lowest, because he dribbles more. He gets more because he dribbles more. He gets more, but then he actually loses the ball more as well, more than his other counterparts. Picking up the ball in the final third, it's a lot less. Again, this could be because he plays for Leicester, progressive carries, not able to carry the ball as much, as he's actually the lowest in this regard. Receiving the ball, mid. Receiving in total, progressive receives, he's mid. Receiving in total, he's near the bottom. And the other one I want to look at is fouls drawn compared to his other counterparts. It's here, and he's top by some way. He picks up more fouls than anyone else. By over 1 as well. So he picks up more fouls by 2.86. The next nearest is 1.78. So he gets fouled a lot more. So I guess what you can learn is he actually stacks up fairly well compared to the other number 10s. And considering these are metrics of him playing in a relegated Leicester team, he's still getting more shots than these other players. He's getting more fouls. He's picking up the ball more times in the penalty area as well. Set pieces, he's creating more chances than a lot of these other players as well. Obviously, there are things to work on, like his ball carrying ability, where he's picking the ball up, his touches per game. But that's going to improve in a better team anyway.
But also, because he's such a main man for Leicester, all these other players that we're comparing him to have maybe other players that the teams can rely on, where Leicester was solely pretty much relying on James Maddison. So the opposition's focus would have been pretty much on Maddison as opposed to more or less anyone on that team. When you're looking at maybe Harvey Barnes there on the wing, but Kelechi Iheanacho and Patson Daka and these players are not players that have big returns or anything like that. So all the opposition's focus would have been on Maddison.
And when you think about it, the fact he's getting less touches and still getting more shots than the rest, still pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
And as well, he, in terms of dribbling, yes, he might be a bit wasteful, but he still attempts a lot of dribbles, and he actually gets more dribbles than any of these other players as well. So he does seem to be better at dribbling in terms of, I guess it's a numbers game. You dribble more, he's going to get more success, but then he gives the ball away more. But he does seem to be able to wriggle his way out of situations more times per game than these other players, but he will lose the ball more. But I do think this is, in terms of what these stats are saying, is definitely he's up there with the best number 10s in the league. And is definitely not he's definitely not finishing bottom in a lot of these stats. A lot of the ones he is finishing bottom is the amount of touches he's getting per game and where he's picking the ball up, but that could be a consequence of the team he's playing for. I think it's pretty impressive, and I do think putting him in a system, hopefully in a system that's going to be more successful under Ange, a more attacking system, more possession based as well, better players around him. Hopefully these stats will even reflect even better going forward. And obviously we know his base stats, like goals and assists, stack up with the best, even just on the face of it as well. So I think the scout report is very encouraging for me.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it's more reason to be excited for James Maddison to come into Tottenham. There's one thing I just wanted to touch on before we end, and that's his injury record. There's been a lot of narrative around Maddison, a lot of Spurs fans in the Spurs fan base at the moment worried about how often he does get injured, saying he's injury prone. What would you say to those people?
I would say he doesn't have look, if I actually looked at this yesterday, like how many games he plays per season in the Premier League. First of all, he played 203 games over 5 seasons, so he averages about 40 games a season. Within all competitions, so it's not bad. But considering Leicester were in Europe, you might think it should be about 45. They didn't go too far in Europe while he was there. I don't think
they got quarters now.
Maybe
Champions
quarters
League?
one. No, he wasn't there for that.
Oh, he wasn't there.
In terms of Premier League, in his 5 seasons, he played 37, 31, 31, 35 and 30. So never played under 30 games. Considering there are 38 games in a season, you might say, it's not great, but I don't think that's bad. I mean, he's missed a maximum of 8 Premier League games in a season. So I like when you talk about an injury record, I don't think that's something to be massively concerned about.
When I talk about a player being injury prone, I'm looking at someone that plays like 25 games a season or something like that.
He's never played under 30.
I think playing 30 as your bare minimum.
Yeah.
I don't have too much of a problem with that.
I don't think there's anything to be really concerned about.
As long as he's not out for the North London derby or anything like that.
Exactly. He does seem to pick up a injury per season, and he does seem to miss a few games. Like in his 5 seasons, 3 of them have been 31, 31 and 30. So that's been the rule. The other 2 have been 37 and 35. So he does seem to pick up a injury and miss a few games, but he's never out. Doesn't seem to be out for like 2 or 3 months ever.
Yeah.
So that's good, and he doesn't seem to pick up regular injuries. So I don't think an injury record is too much of an issue.
All right, so there you have it. That is our scouting report on James Maddison. We finally got our man. We've been chasing this guy for so long. It's not even just while he was at Leicester, right?
Yeah.
We were linked with him when he was at Coventry and
Norwich.
So I think that this is a guy that Spurs have been chasing under various different managers, and it's finally great to get our man through the door. I think he's going to be a real asset to us next season, as the stats would have shown you today that we've went through. But let us know your thoughts about James Maddison in the comment section below. How excited are you to see him pull on that Spurs jersey? But that's it from us. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.